into the DNVR Rockies Podcast. I'm your host, Patrick Lyons, and on today's show, we will have a nice conversation with AJ Haefele of the Colorado Avalanche coverage that we, of course, have here at the DNVR.com, getting his takes on how the season is going so far. What is he enjoying about the Colorado Rockies in 2023, as well as some of his thoughts on the 2023 MLB Draft class, because Rockies, over the course of their 3 days, 21 draft picks. I think they've got about 3 unsigned players already. We've got some of those figures, some above slots, some below. Nevertheless, I won't give away what he thinks. I won't give that away just yet. You'll hear that here in the next segment coming up in just a moment. We'll talk about some of the top stories in baseball right now. Not going to talk about the Houston Astros series just yet, though we do get some takes from AJ about the Astros. Of course, we have to get things started off talking about the minor leagues, as we typically do here on these Monday shows. As I said, 21 players drafted last week during the All-Star break. All of them were college-aged players. There's a JUCO guy in there, but ultimately college-aged players, which was nice to see. One 18-year-old, Yanzel Correa, who came out of the International Baseball Academy in Puerto Rico. So going heavy on those older players who probably need a little less development. It's really been a trend that we've been seeing all around Major League Baseball teams, going incredibly heavy on the Division I and college age players. We did learn this week that we, unfortunately, in the media and fans as well, will not get a chance to rub up against and brush up against, I should say, rub elbows with the latest draft picks for the Rockies. It's something that the Rockies have done the last 2 drafts that they've been able to do that, 2019 and 2022. I say that because in 2020 and in 2021, we were dealing with the pandemic, so there was really no opportunity for the players to come out to the stadium and shake hands, press some palms, talk directly one-on-one with media, even be a part of the coverage of AT&T Sportsnet. So we got that last year, got to meet a bunch of those guys. We did it as well in 2019 with Aaron Schunk and Brenton Doyle, 2 of those 3 players, but not going to be the case here, unfortunately. We do have news, as we kind of teased on Sunday's show. Gabriel Hughes, some elbow issues there. There's been some reports about a slight UCL tear. I think it might be too soon to know exactly. Might even be a while until the Rockies decide what they're going to do exactly with Hughes. But for right now, he's going to be shut down. You definitely hope, you're praying even, that it's not going to be Tommy John surgery. Rockies have had too many of those already. We'll talk about some of the other injuries at the various levels of the minor leagues, because the Rockies have been hit so incredibly hard this year, in a year that was already going to be challenging, at least for the big league team. You had a lot more hopes about the farm system taking steps forward, and I think a lot of guys did. Unfortunately, almost all of those guys that took steps forward were on the offensive side. They were all the hitters. And so you have this scenario where the big league team was already going to be struggling, and then just countless injuries to the starting rotation and other key players as well. Sean Bouchard, Brendan Rodgers, so many of those guys. And now we're getting word that some of the guys in the minor leagues are getting hurt too. So tough times in general, but not a tough time for our Rockies prospects of the week. And we're going to look back at the last 2 weeks, of course. I was out in Seattle doing the All-Star game, took a little bit of downtime up there in the Pacific Northwest, where the temperatures were absolutely immaculate. Well, who was immaculate this week for the AAA Albuquerque Isotopes? I had a tough one here. But I had to go with Jimmy Herron, who over the course of the last 2 weeks hit .467, coming on strong, 14 for 30 with a homer, 7 RBI, 13 runs scored, 5 stolen bases. And as you always know, I look for the hitters at their walks and strikeouts. I do the same thing for the pitchers too. That's a key figure. Walked 5 times, only struck out 4 times for the outfielder, Jimmy Herron. Of course, Wynton Bernard was really fantastic too. Batting average just a little bit below 300, but he did hit 3 homers, 9 RBI, stole 2 bases. And Elias Montero, in short fashion, in only 3 games this past week, was able to hit 2 home runs, 7 RBI, hit .417, and hit a ball over the Smiths Pavilion in left field. If you've ever been down to Isotopes Park, you know how far out that can be. Absolute moonshot. Don't really know what else he has to prove in AAA. Got to play some more defense at first base, but Montero still doing huge things. No surprise there. On the pitching side, a couple good weeks over the course for some of the starting pitchers. Josh Rogers in 3 games. He started 1, had an ERA under 3. Same thing for Phillips Valdez, who is even better. 11 innings pitched in 2 starts, only gave up 1 run. And Peter Lambert, you like it, 8 1/3 innings pitched over the course of 2 starts, only gives up 3 earned runs for a 3.24 ERA. And now is the promotion season. We're basically at that halfway point. We're past it, but we're within that wheelhouse of saying we're at the halfway point here, right? Because we're kind of right at the start of summer still. We're still kind of at the beginning, the front end of that. But a couple promotions, all relievers for the Albuquerque Isotopes as that staff tries to get themselves settled. It's a good group. It's a good crop of players, at least from the clubhouse perspective. That's one of the things that Tommy Doyle said that allowed him to really feel comfortable pitching in the Pacific Coast League this past year. It's just a good crop of guys. And so they add relievers Evan Justice, who's been a very quick riser, Dugan Darnell, and Michael Peterson, who you might have seen pitch for Team Great Britain during the World Baseball Classic. So those 3 guys are now a part of the Albuquerque Isotopes bullpen. In Double-A, our Double-A Hartford Yard Goats prospect of the week is Joe Rock. 2 really good starts, not a ton of length, but still 11 innings pitched, 1 run, 2 earned runs. They were both solo home runs. Might have even been able to go a little bit longer. Had a 6-inning complete game. Could have possibly gone into the 7th at that point, but looking really solid. 14 strikeouts, 6 walks. You like for the walks to get down, but if you're striking out 14, you're going to take that. So Joe Rock is one of those players where we've talked plenty in recent weeks about the Rockies and needing starting pitching and where's that depth coming from. And, you know, they just picked up Chris Flexen and who's going to start more games at the end of the year. And there could be 1 or 2 guys from Hartford that get that opportunity. Joe Rock could be one of those guys, especially as he does seem to be a more hotter hand for the Yard Goats right now. Honorable mention on the offensive side, rough week for the Yard Goats at the plate. But Kyle Daters, 379, 6 walks to 8 strikeouts, stole 3 bases. Nice job for him. And Case Williams did a good job in 2 starts. Phineas Delbonta Smith in 3 relief outings did really well. Jordan Beck, of course, was promoted to Double-A. So now you got Mike Honcho, Jordan Beck, and Yankiel Fernandez together again in Double-A, moving quickly through the system. There's no reason they shouldn't be. Blocking a player with another prospect who might be 24, 25, 26, that's not a real good reason for not promoting a player. Hunter Goodman still down in Double-A. He's been actually struggling just a little bit. Is that what the Rockies want? And see if he can work through those struggles. He's already proved he can hit Double-A pitching. But hopefully we'll get to see him going up to Triple-A in just a minute. And yeah, Gabriel Hughes, as we mentioned earlier, 7-day IL is going to be evaluated for elbow surgery. On the positive injury front, if there is such a thing, Zach Veen with the shoulder surgery should play some more time in winter ball this offseason to make up for some of those missed at-bats. This is according to Director of Player Development, Chris Forbes. So there's some hope that this season isn't totally lost for the 9th overall pick in the 2020 MLB Draft. At High A, our Rockies prospect of the week is Benny Montgomery. Now, there was an injury scare last week, but he came away from that fine. He hit 371, 13 for 35, 2 homers, 5 RBI. He had a couple of other extra base hits, 2 stolen bases, 9 runs scored. Great job for him. Jordan Beck did really well just before his promotion, hitting 2 home runs, 7 RBI. And Zach Kokoska and Nick Kent continue to do it. 2 guys who were towards the middle rounds in that 2021 MLB Draft for the Rockies, and they've been really impressive and have been providing a lot of depth for the farm system. Another good week for those 2. Sterling Thompson did really well. Jared Candy, you could probably make the case that he also deserved a shot at being the prospect of the week for High A in 2 starts, 12 innings pitched, 3 earned runs, 15 strikeouts. So we had Joe Rock with he had 14 strikeouts and 6 walks. Jared Candy, 15 strikeouts, only 3 walks. He has been really good, one of the biggest bright spots for High A Spokane. Also, 2 really good starts for Connor Van Scoyac and Victor Juarez this week. 6 scoreless outings from Angel Chavi. No walks, 8 strikeouts. He is one of those reliever guys to keep an eye on and to track throughout their progression towards the big leagues. Ryan Ritter has been promoted to High A Spokane, and McCade Brown, unfortunately, hits the IL. I think he's even done for the year. Now in Low A, I think Skylar Messenger was already a prospect of the week. I know he's been an honorable mention a couple times, but he continues to tear it up. A guy who, I heard whispers of some people saying, well, he's kind of a Colorado guy. He was at the back end of last year's draft, Rockies just like their Colorado kids, so maybe that's one of the reasons they took him out of the University of Texas. Not true. Skylar Messenger proving that he can do a little bit of everything for the Fresno Grizzlies down there in Low A California League. 385, 6 doubles, triple, 4 home runs, 15 RBI. Oh, yeah, and a stolen base. Really doing it all. Probably one of the biggest and brightest surprises for Fresno so far in the 2023 minor league campaign. Honorable mentions go to Jamari Baylor, Jake Snyder, Brian Betancourt, Diane George, Andy Perez. Everyone was hitting over the course of the last 2 weeks for the Grizzlies. And honorable pitcher mention, relievers, Sergio Sanchez, Zach Agnos, and Anderson PR. Really, really solid. And Jackson Cox. Let's talk about him. He finally got his start a little bit late there in the month of May. He finally got going to make his professional debut. Had a 9.38 ERA over his first 8 starts as a pro. Again, high school pick out of Tootle Lake High School up there in Washington State, Bud Black's old neck of the woods. So we look past that as no bearing on what he's going to be like on his path to the majors and in the majors. But we'll say, really solid over these last 2 weeks. 2 games started, 7 innings pitched as he starts to get more innings on that arm. No earned runs, 2 walks, and an eye-bulging 14 Ks for Jackson Cox. Love to see that. Really solid. You don't love to see the fact that Thomas Harding said that after that start there, I believe on July 9th, Cox did have to get evaluated for apparent elbow injuries, elbow soreness. So we hope that he is going to be okay. Too many guys getting Tommy John surgery all around the entire organization. Same for Jordy Vargas, who's being evaluated for injuries. You just don't want that to happen to these young guys, especially because the Rockies are really counting on them. They've got so many really great hitters that are still far away. They're still just reaching Double-A, so they've got a way to go. And the pitchers, they're basically at Double-A and lower, but if they're going on the shelf and they can't stay healthy, they can't be on the field, then that's really of no import to the Rockies, of little value, right? The best ability is availability, and the best bourbon around is from Breckenridge Distillery. It's the official bourbon of the the Denver Broncos. Do I know something that you don't? No. They're staying here at Mile High. No, Breckenridge Distillery is the makers of Breckenridge Bourbon, the official bourbon of the Denver Broncos, and widely known for their blended bourbon whiskey. It's a high rye mash American-style whiskey. Après anywhere. That's right. That's the hashtag, Après anywhere. Founded in 2008, Breckenridge Distillery is the world's highest distillery, and their Breckenridge Bourbon is one of the most highly awarded crafted bourbons in the U.S. They've won so many awards that I'm not going to read them because it's going to be another 20 minutes when I tell you all of these awards that they've won. I will tell you that the award-winning spirits that they've got over there at Breckenridge Distillery are absolutely fantastic. And look, if you go there in person, they're going to offer an immersive guest experience. It's actually named one of the country's top visitor attractions by Whiskey Magazine, and they sell products that are available in all 50 states. That's really nice. If you need to know exactly where to get them at a retailer, you visit BreckenridgeDistillery.com, and you can get that with home delivery as well of all of their award-winning Breckenridge distilled beverages. With Bet365, you can turn $1 into $200 of bonus bets when you join Bet365. You download the app, deposit $10, and claim your $200 in bonus bets as soon as you place a bet for $1. It's really that simple. Download the Bet365 app and use promo code DNVR365 when you sign up. Bet365, they've pioneered live in-game betting. They offer the widest range of games and markets available for live in-game betting. 80 million users worldwide and a proud partner of the Colorado Rockies. Get yourself a better price on chosen markets for select games with Bet365 Boosts and Bet365 Super Boosts. And with the Bet365 Baseball Early Payout offer, you're a winner if your team goes 5 runs ahead with an instant payout. Seriously, it's fantastic. Parlay and same-game parlay selections will be marked as winners. So download the app and use code DNVR365 when you sign up. Must be 21 or older and physically located in Colorado. Please gamble responsibly. If you or someone you know has a gambling problem and wants help, call or text 1-800-GAMBLER. Joining us on the show today is the inimitable, like that word, AJ Haefele. AJ, how's it going today, buddy?
It's going pretty well, man.
You enjoying the Rockies in the summertime? Like, are you able to put aside like the win-loss record at times in the summer when it comes to being a Rockies fan or watching them or going to the stadium? Or is it just it's too linked that you can't really separate the two?
I think I think when you looked at this year's team at the start of the season, you understood what they were in for, and so it was you cared you. This season was kind of one of those things that what you care about most is revealed by the kind of team the Rockies are. So, like me as a sports fan, I like prospects and I like player development. I like stuff like that. So watching McMahon take that little next step into legitimacy, has been cool. Watching obviously my guy Zeke Tovar, just it was a struggle early, where I was like, oh man, this is what happens when you put a baby boy in the big leagues, But watching him grow up and watching him really um, start to find his stride and realizing when you realize, hey, he's only 21 years old, um, it's for me, it's really easy to put aside the win-loss thing for this year because you knew they were going to lose a lot of games. And then, as always, I care about the draft, and so they did not do the thing that I was so convinced they were going to do in taking Enrique Bradfield Jr. And they didn't do that, and I really like their draft class. So I think right now, like understanding the, I say this while understanding like the confines of the season. I feel as good about the Rockies as I can right now.
Yeah, I think when you put everything in context, I mean the bar is low. I think at
Yeah,
a certain point, like you said, hey, they didn't do this really bad thing, and was it great or was it just not the really bad thing? Definitely, seems to help. As you said, the expectations going into the year, even by the owner standards, was, hey, maybe we'll win 77, 78 games, right? We'll be around 500, and then everyone gets hurt, and you go, there's no way that's going to happen. So, try to have fun out there. But two other names, of course, for players that I'm sure, and I'd love to hear your thoughts on, that have kind of stepped forward, and you say, okay, this could be something. It might not be a future all-star. We'll see. There's a chance. There's potential in there for these two gentlemen. But you get your hopes up a little bit and say, hey, they could be pieces. Ryan McMahon is still yet to be an all-star, but he's an important piece to have for your next contending team, hopefully, if it's going to be in the next few years. And so you've got two new pieces to really reflect upon in Brenton Doyle and Nolan Jones. Have you enjoyed kind of watching those guys and start dreamcasting what their future could look like in purple?
I think Doyle has looked almost exactly like what I was expecting, in terms of the 10 tons of fun, but maybe the most important thing, um, the number one concern that I had, and to be honest, the number one concern that you had his entire minor league career, it's always the swing and miss. Hitting in the big leagues is really, really hard. There's a lot more guys that can't do it than can. So, I think, and when he makes contact, he makes solid contact, and you find all these things that to be hyped up about, and all the different aspects of his game that have flourished and that have translated so far that you feel super good about. But the swing and miss is still the number one thing that I think might keep him from being just an everyday player, and might have him as a more as a kind of a fun bench guy. So Dolan Jones, I feel kind of the opposite about. I kind of feel like I'm drinking the Kool-Aid there. He's still really young. I'm I think the power is real. The defense has been solid, and I'm I don't know. I mean, it's kind of the last thing they need is like, oh hey, they've already kind of got a packed outfield, and that's where a huge strength of their system is as well. So it's kind of it's kind of like, oh, of course they find a diamond in the rough at like a position they absolutely just don't need it at.
Yeah, and when you throw in the fact that he's naturally a third baseman, you go,
Yeah.
oh, well, I mean that was another spot too that you can't really do much around.
Well, and everybody's favorite baseball move is like, oh, just drop him at first base, and it's like, well, like it's not exactly a solution because you're trying to, obviously you have CJ Chrome right now, but you're also trying to get something out of Michael Toglia long term. So who's also an outfielder in his spare time. So it's kind of like that's like classic Rockies luck.
Yeah,
where they don't pick up spare parts. That's like a phenomenal second baseman in the making. So I am really excited about Nolan Jones though, and I am drinking that Kool-Aid for right now. I do feel like he's got a shot to be an everyday guy. Like you said, I'm not an all-star, but I think a solid everyday guy.
Yeah, I think so. Those guys are so valuable doing it from the left-hand side. I mean, it just seems like, and when he hits a home run, he hits a home run. Like they're all 450 plus. Like that's the thing that really, that makes the Kool-Aid taste that much sweeter. And you go, what have we got? And yeah, moving them to first base isn't necessarily a solution because they have too many first basemen. I mean, Elias Montero is tearing up AAA again, despite the fact that he's got nothing really to learn there at the plate. Can you learn that much at AAA defensively about playing first base? I don't think so. I mean, you need to get playing time. Obviously, that's part of it, and I think the Rockies need to showcase CJ Cron in order to be able to trade him and improve the stock of the farm system. But even still, first base is almost a position you want to have no depth at in the minor leagues because, to your point, AJ, you can slide a guy over to first base. So you don't want to be drafting first base prospects. They did that with Grant Levine a few years ago. But that being said, there's some hope there just a little bit. I don't know if you got a chance to watch any of Sunday's game, but it turns out it was Sunday's game, which almost like an immediate classic for sure. It was only the third time in live ball era, so since 1920, that a team has hit a go-ahead grand slam in the eighth inning or later, a game-tying home run in extra innings, and a walk-off home run in extras, all of which meant it was the first loss in New York Yankees history where they had multiple leads of 2 or more runs in the eighth inning or later. That's why you go to the ballpark.
Coors Field, baby.
Hashtag Coors.
Yeah, I mean, I didn't get a chance to see it, but it was, as it was happening, I was following along on my phone, and it was cool to see. Obviously the caster curse from the Yankees broadcast booth was
Yeah.
perfect. So maybe an all-time great cell
Yeah,
phone there.
we may have to have like the Rockies communications department like slip notes to the other team of like, hey, this guy's like 0 for 18. Just slip it in there.
Yeah.
Oh, hey, what do you know? Game winning walk-off double. Like just all day, just almost like dunking on your own team to get that jinx going and kick it around. We mentioned it on yesterday's show that going into yesterday, the Rockies were only down 362 fans per game at the ballpark at this time last year. There was another sellout on Sunday, so I was looking forward to today here, Monday morning, looking at the numbers, seeing where they were at. Well, we are at a positive 103, which means Rockies actually have better attendance this year, in a year in which the owner did owner type things and saying certain things about being around 500 and obviously embarrassing himself and the organization. Actually, more people right now are going to more games at Coors Field than all of last year. Thoughts?
I'm not going to begrudge anybody that decides to spend their money however they want to spend it. That is entirely up to us as people, as the people who earn that money. Y'all do what you want to do. I'm not going to be the guy shouting at you that you're the problem. Coors Field is a wonderful summertime experience in Denver, especially because it just hasn't gotten hot. So sitting out there, when on one of those days where it's 95 degrees and you got no shade to hide, hasn't been a common experience at Coors. So I think it's good for those people. I'm not gonna. If there's one thing about the Rockies community, I think I've gotten a little tired of. It's the demonization of people that just want to be fans. I can understand the anger and or apathy at management, and well, we're never going to get any real meaningful change and all that. Like I get where all those people are coming from. I feel similarly, but I'm not going to begrudge anybody that just wants to have a good time with the sport that they love. That's but that's like the worst kind of gatekeeping. Like
Sure.
trying to keep people from having a good time. Are you kidding me? Like that's ridiculous. So, I'm my thoughts are good for those people. Um, it's fine. I mean,
Sure.
it's
I think
not going to matter even if they had completely bottomed out. We're watching. Um, I just don't think Dick Brunford would care. He would care, but like I don't think he would sell the team as a result and be like,
oh, sure. No. Correct. Yeah.
so if that's why people would be upset about that, I don't think it would matter anyway.
Yeah.
So, that's just me and my opinion, but let people have fun.
It's a very nuanced thing because I think we could agree on one hand that like, hey, if there were less people going to the ball games, and again, not even just Rockies fans, we understand Denver, Colorado is a destination, and when you're coming through Denver, you're going to want to go to game at Coors Field. It's beautiful. So on one hand, you can say, well, maybe if there were less people going, that would change things in the front office. Certainly wouldn't mean anyone would sell the team. It's still profitable. And then on the other hand, you have fans that want to go to games, and there really isn't much of an overlap. It's just it is what it is. And no one's. I mean, I know I'm not. But yes, there are folks that are suggesting like, hey, if you're going to the game, you are supporting this problem, and I don't think it's a 1-to-1 ratio in that capacity. Because again, look at the ballpark, and again, it's the Yankees. So Rockies fans would have loved to come out and see the Yankees, even without Aaron Judge. But the ballpark was half Yankees fans, so Rockies fans should not be blamed. They have not created a problem. They want to go see their team. They want to go support the players. And even if they didn't want to do that, that wouldn't really change very much. Attendance would be lower, but again, it wouldn't really change very much.
Yeah, and I mean you're seeing, obviously it's a little different in Oakland right now, but you're also seeing that in that kind of, uh, that kind of we're just not going to show up. I don't want to say it's apathy because those people obviously care a lot, uh,
Different
but
situation. Yeah, for sure.
exactly. But that decision, and they're rolling out there, um, and they're averaging what, like 12K people a game or something. Like it's incredibly low, and it just doesn't matter. That dude is just eating it. Now, obviously, he has a way out. He's got a side door that he's slipping out of. But you're seeing that stubbornness. So what? F those people. So, um, I just go to the games, have fun.
Yeah, absolutely. And have fun with some kind love because they're a great partner. We love them. Quality, integrity, consistency, variety. It's actually one of the first dispensaries in the state of Colorado that they established in 2010. They've been known for cultivating some of the highest quality cannabis in the state. They got this turbo joint, which uses some technology. Like there's technology in marijuana. It's seriously, it's like a toothpick that you can put in your blunts. It's a whole thing. Get a turbo keef going on. It burns slower and is a lot more flavorful too. So check out the Turbo Core with their turbo joints and the Kind Love flower, which is sold in more than 100 stores around the state. It's Kind Love. Visit one of their stores in Cherry Creek or North Denver and mention DNVR and receive the DNVR exclusive discount of 25% off all Kind Love flower, pre-rolls, and their turbo joint line. Visit the website at kindlove.com for their full extensive menu and online ordering. Pick up a pair of Shady Rays too if you're at the ballpark or just walking around downtown. We are so much closer to the sun. AJ and I were talking beforehand. If you go north and you go a little west, the sun stays out longer. You're not as close to the sun at altitude, so the temperature is more moderate. But here we're so close to the sun that your eyes can fry a little bit if you don't have some protection like Shady Rays. Right now, you can buy one, get one free, especially when you use promo code DNVR. Lost and broken replacement policy. So if you lose or you break them, no harm, no foul. They'll hook you up with a brand new pair. If you don't like it, hey, sometimes that happens, or you change your mind, return it within 30 days. You get a full refund. It's great. You can go to the Park Meadows Mall, try them on for yourself if you'd like to, but make sure you use code DNVR and get the pair of shades from the independent sunglass company rated 5 stars by over 200,000 people. AJ, as you said, the draft class, they had to get it. They had to get some starting pitching, and maybe Dollander, really Chase Dollander out of the University of Tennessee, is the only guy you're getting super hyped about. But they at least did that thing. They had to get, in my opinion, either Lauder, Dollander, or maybe even stretch for a Hurston Waldrop. They got it. They got the guy there who wouldn't have been available to him, this time last year because he looked like he was going 1-1. After his sophomore season at Tennessee, going 10-0. But you got to feel good that, all right, at least they got one dude for sure that you can feel good about.
Yeah, I mean, I feel good about more than one.
Yeah.
I like both of the top couple of picks. You're talking about very different guys, but I think that's the point. That's part of the appeal. I mean, you've got your flamethrower in Dollander. But I really like the Sean Sullivan pick. I think he's a really projectable lefty, and uh, you know, both of these guys should be. I remember talking about this being a thing when Ryan Rollison was drafted, but like quick to the majors. Now obviously with Rollison, there have been so many injuries that have played a role there that that it's kind of warped that story. But with these guys and really with this group, you're talking about so many college arms. Um, I think I we'll need to see subsequent drafts to see if it really has changed. But this really kind of represented a departure for the Rockies at the draft table and some of their approach to pitching. And I'm excited by that because I think they needed that. It sure feels like they know what they're doing when it comes to trying to find position players.
Yeah.
They do a pretty good job at it. They're producing and developing. At the same time, a number of draft classes, but their international signings are the last couple of years have started to really produce some keep an eye on these guys type of prospects. And uh, the pitching, them going really pitching heavy, reminded me of the Angels a few years ago when they made 20 picks and all 20 were pitchers
Yeah.
because their system just needed pitching, and they were like, well, we're doing it. Well, this was a giant influx of pitching talent into its system, into the Rockies system, and it's a lot of different types of guys too. It's not, it's not a it's not like a copy and paste. Like, hey, we're going after the same type of guy and drafting 5 of them and hoping one of them turns out. There's a lot of diversity there. Right-handers, left-handers, styles. Concerns about different guys. It's not like they went after all the guys who had power stuff but couldn't control it. There's just the variety of profiles, I think, is really encouraging. And I'm, as much as I like all the pitching picks, I actually really love that Cole Carrick pick. You get a guy that could play multiple positions, like that, but catcher being one of them. It's fun to think what hey, he could be the backup catcher behind Drew Romo someday, and go out and play center field for you, and in the meantime, have a good time. So no, I like the draft class. I actually, there were some later round guys that actually am pretty excited to see what happens with them.
Yeah, as I mentioned at the top of the show, the only one high school guy, out of the International Academy down in Puerto Rico, so going college heavy, which I think is good. You're allowing a lot of these Division I schools, many of which are in the SEC, to do the developing for you, so you don't have to have this high school kid and coach him up for the course of 3 years. And yeah, Cole Carrick, the profile is so interesting. You're like, okay, a modern day Craig Biggio, but what if he does it all at the same time rather than just for 5 years at a time in general. And of course, talking about Astros legend and Hall of Famer Craig Biggio, might as well talk about the Houston Astros just a little bit. That, of course, being a team you grew up. Was that a good segue, or do you not want to talk about the Astros, AJ?
No, it's just been one of those years,
Sure. Yeah, we could talk about Texas kind of. Well, I'm not gonna say coming out of nowhere because they certainly aren't paying for nothing, so they didn't come out of nowhere. How about this? I was just in Seattle for the All-Star game. What is your take as an Astros fan to have this thing continue like it's been, and at different times you got pockets of people forgetting, and then at other times you got the commissioner and all of the Astros picks, or at least the announcement of the name Houston Astros getting bombarded with boos. Dusty Baker, boos. All the Astros players, boos. It wasn't Seattle, so it was a division rival. What's your take on that as an Astros fan? To hear people kind of really keeping that going from the sign stealing scandal.
Your boos fuel me and flags fly forever, bitch.
All right, there you go. That's it. That's a great take. No, that's it right there.
Do it for the rest of your life, for all I care.
Yeah, that will be funny because I think it eventually will wane, and I think it has already a little bit, at least a little bit in big moments. It jumps back up. That's fine, but we're going to get to a point in which there's nobody around that was even associated with the sign stealing scandal. In fact, Dusty Baker wasn't even associated with that. They brought him in after the fact. And so, okay, there's some connective tissue to all of that, but Dusty Baker himself, living legend, Hall of Famer, it probably doesn't deserve to get boos, but why think about facts when it just sometimes can be fun to just be a fan and just do the fan thing?
I don't begrudge anybody that feels any kind of way about it. I feel the way that I do about it, and to me, it doesn't taint that championship. And for all the people that want to stand on the moral high ground and pretend otherwise, hey, feel how you're going to feel. That's a lifelong memory that I get to carry with me forever. And you know that's apparently a lifelong memory of a different kind for some other folks. And I respect that. We're all different people with different views on it. So you know,
Yeah,
it's to me, you know, I've over the years on this podcast, I've talked about it and how I felt about it and how my views on it have evolved. And um, I'm at the point now where you know, I gain strength to wake up every day and continue to living my best life. Uh, every time that they get booed at a league event, that adds 5 more years to my existence. Keep going.
I love it. It should add another, jewel to your Infinity Gauntlet. Like you're just getting stronger and stronger as it goes. It's yeah,
It kind of feels like a soul stone, honestly, man. Like a just you know you've got the souls of all the angry nerds trapped in there, and I get to put it on my glove and feel strong and powerful and mighty.
that's it. You're a mighty man, AJ. Do you think Houston's gonna be able to figure it out just a little bit? Can they catch Texas, or are they gonna be okay getting a wild card?
I don't know if they're gonna catch Texas. So many injuries this year and a lot of underperformance all over that roster. This feels like your classic post championship season letdown.
Yeah.
So you know, I don't if they get in, always be nervous about them. But right now, you know, they've got so many things going on. It's funny the fact that they're struggling this badly, and they're still right there. Um, you know, that's why you're afraid of them if they get in. So you know, let them into the dance at your own peril.
Yeah, I feel like them and the Dodgers, and you could say, there's some flaws with the Dodgers. If you've got Kershaw and Urias in the postseason, I mean, you might be okay. That might be all that you need, really. So for sure, yeah. If they get into the postseason, you got to watch out for sure. So long way to go for that. I know you'll be watching over the course of the next 2 days. Houston Rockies. AJ, thanks so much for joining us. We appreciate you taking out the time.
Yeah, it's my pleasure. Thanks for having me.
Breckenridge Brew Palisade Peach Wheat is the jam for the summertime. That's it. It's the laid back porch side refresher, and it's coming from the nationally recognized. Nationally, we're known for it here on the Western Slope. Those peaches from Palisade, Colorado. It's a fruit forward, unfiltered American style wheat ale. It's bursting with bright and juicy peach flavor. You know it's made here in Colorado with Colorado ingredients and with 100% renewable energy. Get a little taste of Colorado anywhere you're at by going to the Breck Brew locator over at breckbrew.com and check out the official brew of DNVR. And the official way to get your tickets is no better way than Game Time tickets. Everyone was doing it this weekend for the Yankees game. My family included, 16 of them used Game Time tickets. Think about that. They were all together in the same row. They were able to do that because of Game Time tickets. They also got $20 off that first purchase when they used code DNVR. So Game Time is really changing the game. They've been doing it for a decade. That was my first taste of Red Rocks. I got to see a concert there, and I used Game Time tickets. Part of it had to do with the fact that the weather was getting questionable, and as we got closer to the start of the show, prices started coming down. That's the cool thing about Game Time tickets is they're still selling up to about an hour and a half, even an hour before the event starts. So those ticket brokers or even folks who can't go to the event, basketball, baseball, football, concert, you name it, they're going to want to get something for their tickets so it doesn't get absolutely wasted. And you get the benefit of that with Game Time tickets. So head over there now, download the app. Everyone loves it. Use the link in the description and use code DNVR for $20 off that first purchase. Let's get ourselves primed up for the next couple of days, what to watch for. Padres, you can watch them if you want. They're not very good right now. They lost 3 or 4 to the Phillies in Philadelphia, who may be getting Bryce Harper back as a first baseman. He's available for them, but could be playing first base as soon as maybe even tomorrow, this week, perhaps, after coming back from that Tommy John surgery. But the Padres, boy, oh boy, they're 6 games under 500, 8 games back of the final wild card spot, and there's 3 teams ahead of them in their division. That does not bode well for them. Baltimore Orioles right now, they are absolutely surging. 8-game win streak for them. Only 1 game behind the Rays of Tampa Bay, not of Montreal, not yet at least. The Tampa Bay Rays for tops in the American League East and best record in the American League. Good test for them coming up this week as they take on the Dodgers. And because of this balanced schedule business, wrote about it today over on the DNVR.com, basically about this big win over the Yankees, a historic loss that the Rockies handed to the New York Yankees. Again, you can read about that for free, unlocked at the DNVR.com. They finished the season, Colorado, at Coors Field against the Minnesota Twins. Very strange. Also strange, Rockies are going to Camden Yards. They will do that at the end of August, so you'll get a chance to kind of get a feel for what the Orioles are like. Can they sustain that over the course of the next month? I absolutely think that they can. Ellie De La Cruz, can he continue to stop being impressive and breaking records and being the most exciting player in baseball? I have to say, was a little bummed for everyone, not just for myself, but I was bummed for everybody that he turned down the offer to participate in the 2023 Home Run Derby. Thinks he wants to, get there on his own merits, maybe put together more of a better first half. Obviously, he got called up late, so he wasn't able to stockpile the typical numbers we see from Home Run Derby contestants, but has confidence in himself, and I think everyone does, that he'll be back, possibly even starting the game next year, whether it's at third base or shortstop for the National League, if he continues to do these things and is able to stay healthy. He's doing the things that we thought O'Neal Cruz would be doing this year for the Pirates before he ended up getting hurt. But he's playing third base on Sunday, fired a missile over to first base, 97.9 miles per hour, fastest throw on an infield assist in the StatCast era. So that goes back to 2015. And when you see the throw, you might not be able to pick up the fact that it was nearly 98 miles an hour, but you're just going to look at that and go, yeah, that is a cannon. That's a rocket over to first base. It's just amazing what this generation of players are, what they're able to do. And there's even more coming up for the Rockies in their youth movement. They've just called up another high-octane rookie in Christian Encarnacion Strand. Yes, Encarnacion Strand is his last name, so it's hyphenated. 17 letters, longest name in MLB history. If you want to go ahead and include the hyphen, that's 18 characters. If you include his first name, it's Christian. I think that's 23. I think that makes him tied for like the longest name when you first and last name. It's pretty wild. He's actually quite good. So you have to see what his jersey looks like, because it pretty much goes from basically the left side of his lower back to the right side of his lower back. It's definitely a wild look, but he's another one of those guys as part of that Reds youth movement as they continue to take over the National League Central and really show up a year, maybe even 2 years ahead of schedule of what their front office was hoping for. And look, you got to root for a team like Cincinnati, a smaller market club, of course, there in Ohio, because if they're able to do it, if their young guys can really take the league by storm all together at the same time, it definitely should give a lot of Rockies fans hope that, hey, if all of our young guys can come together with the veterans that are on the team, then maybe 2025, I was really hoping 2024 would be the year. I don't know if that's going to happen. It's not outside the realm of possibility, but 2025 may be that year where they all come together and you go, wow, a lot of bottles filled with lightning contained within a much larger bottle. And you go, this is now exciting to watch. This is now a postseason contending club. And if the Reds are doing it this year, it definitely should give Rockies fans some hope. We talked about it on Sunday. I don't know if anyone has any real hope that Shohei Ohtani is coming to the Colorado Rockies. And yeah, I do believe the email is real. I didn't at first. I didn't, but I have reason to believe it is real that owner Dick Monfort responded to someone who has season tickets that, sure, it would be fun to have Ohtani for 2 months. And that was it. That was all that the comment was. So relatively innocuous, but still interesting to think about and ponder about and to talk about with friends and family and just debate it or to laugh about it, however you want to kind of slice it and dice it. But I do believe the email was real. And no, of course, that is not actually going to happen, either via trade or in free agency this offseason. But tomorrow, of course, we'll get to some of those Shohei Ohtani rumors. Where is the most likely place he could end up? What are the destinations that make sense, not only for the team acquiring Shohei Ohtani, but for the Los Angeles Angels? That's another piece to this, is that if the Angels are going to back out and say, you know what, we're not sure that we could sign this guy, or we might want to have our cake and eat it too, we got to make sure we get some really good cake. If we're going to get rid of Ohtani, that could decrease the likelihood that we're able to bring him back and also change the narrative. Now Ohtani all of a sudden is no longer a career and a lifelong Los Angeles Angel, at least over here in America in MLB. That changes that just a little bit. The Angels need to make sure they get back a ton, and they're not totally out of it right now as far as making the postseason in the American League. So they need to get back a lot. Do the Rockies have enough for a package like that? I'm not sure that that's possible. There might only be a few teams that are really capable of not only providing a package that is good enough for the Angels to say, you know what, we're gonna do this thing, we're gonna do it, but that it's not only enticing enough for the Angels, but that the Rockies are able to sustain giving up that much to acquire a player of Ohtani's magnitude. Because if you lose that from your farm system, that's just gone. It's going to be hard for you to make up for that. And because the Rockies are draft and develop, they really rely on all of those young players to come up and to contribute. And if you lose that a big patch, you lose 25% of the players you are relying on the most to contribute in the future, it's just gone. It's not going to reappear. So you got to be very careful in acquiring a player like that. And it's only going to be postseason contenders or teams who think while maybe they're out of it, like San Diego. San Diego might be out of it. Sure, they're going to continue to push for the final 2+ months, but they may think that they can sign Ohtani, and they may want to sign Ohtani. That maybe makes sense for them. But any other team that's really out of contention, maybe the Mets, maybe not. But any other team out of contention, it really makes no sense for them to give up a stockpile of prospects or big league ready talent to acquire Ohtani. But yeah, we'll talk about it a lot more than I just did. We'll talk about that with Susie. We can talk about it plenty over on the Twitter side of things at DNVR_Rockies. At Patrick D. Lyons is where you can reach me at. DMs are open. Make sure you like, share, and subscribe this show on YouTube, as well as over on Apple Podcasts, or anywhere that you might listen to this, Spotify. We really could use some of those reviews, some of those kind of comments that y'all love to put out there. It's been a while. We love to give this free content, and we want to continue to make it free. And we want to make sure that we're doing right by y'all out there in the Rockies community, or anybody who's dropping in from another fan base, because we've gotten a lot of that this year. People are interested in figuring out, hey, what the heck is going on with the Rockies? And this is a fun show. What the heck is going on with Patrick and Susie? There's also that element, and we appreciate that. So please go ahead and review and give us some comments anywhere that you may be listening to this podcast. It's been wonderful. It's been momentous. But as we say around these parts, when it comes to momentum, it's only as good as your next show. So, of course, we will talk to you tomorrow at 1 p.m. right here on the DNVR Sports Channel, live on YouTube.